Good evening. As Chair of the Mid-Ulster Council, it gives me great pleasure and delight to welcome you here this evening to the Terrace Hotel, to the beautiful surroundings here in Magherafelt, to the Council's second event in, listen to it, celebrating the achievement of women. And here I am as a man celebrating the achievement of women. We'll come to that in a minute or two. I'm extremely pleased that we're holding these events, and I mean that genuinely. I think it's very important that we shine a light and showcase the significant role that women have played in the shaping of our history over the last 100 years. I personally have been very vocal on my support of these events, and wholeheartedly believe that they are essential in giving a more accurate account of history, affording women the credit they deserve, and highlighting the instrumental contribution that women have made to our entire society. It was back in 2012, you look at the screen, in my term of office in the old Magherafelt Council, that these events first commenced. And I'm delighted that they have continued to this present day. Here we have what we did that day in Magherafelt was that we were showcasing all the boutiques and ladies' fashion. Now, I wasn't wearing a dress, so don't get alarmed or excited. But as a council chair at that time, I felt it was important that we showcased what we had. And unfortunately, on so many occasions, they were bypassed. And so we felt this was a tremendous opportunity. The second picture to your right is where we took over Broad Street. And as I said at the event in Corrick House the other night, it wasn't a strike we were having, but we took over the top of Broad Street, over the pedestrian crossing, and we held up the traffic for some time, basically to make people aware that this was the place to do business and this was the place to shop. And so that was a very successful event indeed. I stated on Tuesday night that as a man, it gives me great pleasure to showcase these events, because the reality is that I owe my entire career to two very special women. And as I said then, and I said again, don't go onto Twitter and cause it the chairman's having an affair and he's causing a whole lot of things. I'm not. My wife's here with me tonight, so I'm a little bit more nervous and I'm on my best behaviour. But this is the first one. This is the first woman. This is the woman that gave me birth. This is my mum. And my mum in a few weeks' time will be 94 years of age. And I love her very much, and I'm proud of her. She didn't have the opportunities that many of you women have today. She was a housewife and a mother, and she was a multitasker. She baked, she sewed, she knit, she tutored, she corrected, she reared a family of 9 children, and on many occasions she was an entrepreneur and she didn't know it, and she was a bank teller and she didn't know it, because she had to do all the finances. Whenever my dad went to buy something, he'd just come to mum and said, I need a few pounds. That was the way she held the purse strings, and she run the business and she run the show. And she made me what I am today. And I'm proud that she's my mum. The second person, over 40 odd years ago, I left home, and this lady became not just my right arm, but she took on the role of my mum, and she became me. And I'm proud of this lady, because she does everything for me. And I could not do the job that I do and fulfill the role that I fulfill as chair of the council without this woman. And Carl, I know, has made fun of me on a number of occasions, but she dresses me. She colour coordinates me. because I would put on 2 socks of different colours. And everything that I need to do my job, to carry out my role, Christine has it ready for me. She rings me during the day, are you home tonight? Do you need dinner? What are you wearing? What's the occasion? What's the dress code? And when I go home, everything's laid out for me. Now, there might be a number of reasons for that. First, I've already mentioned I'm not very colour coordinated or dress conscious. Secondly, I don't think she likes me racking through the wardrobe and getting everything out, and she would have to tidy it up after her, so maybe that's another reason. But she does everything for me, and therefore I'm proud to be able to host and to welcome you here tonight to promote women, because women have been a significant part and played a significant role in my life. I dare not forget to mention my company. And if you look down at that bottom rowdy table in the corner, Henry Brothers have kindly sponsored a table tonight, and they have sent their female staff and their workforce here. And I believe that they did that to demonstrate the value that they place on women within the construction industry. And we have a fantastic bunch of ladies who work tirelessly behind the scenes to make it all happen within our company. And I thank them for their support, and I hope they don't hassle me or give me much mad. In conclusion, can I say I'm delighted that by hosting these events, we're also able to not only showcase women and give a review of our history, but also that we can support a very essential and worthwhile charity in Air Ambulance Northern Ireland. And I think that's fantastic, and I know people have dug deep and given generously to support the charity that does a vital service to us all here in this rural hinterland of Mid-Ulster. You'll also be glad to know that I'm not comparing the evening, and we're going to be in the excellent hands this evening of the one and only Carl Doey. Now, Carl's no stranger to many, and certainly understands the purpose of tonight's event, and she's a fantastic advocate for us all tonight. She does a lot of charitable work, she does a lot of public speaking, and she does a lot of slagging off. So be prepared for whatever comes, because I am. And she will so elegantly introduce the rest of the speakers. And we're delighted. We have a great range of speakers tonight. And I said this on Tuesday, and I said again tonight, I'm delighted personally that we have our Deputy Chief Executive, Anne-Marie Campbell. And I'm really delighted that, because I have been in council for almost 35 years. And I have seen Anne-Marie progress up through the ranks, and now she's at the Deputy Chief Executive's role in Mid-Ulster Council. And I think, again, that's a great advocate for women and what is possible for them to achieve. And I know that there's plenty more for her to reach. And so without any further ado, I want you to put your hands together for our compere this evening, Carl Doey.
I can't do very much now because we're going to chat about, not that you could hear me in coke tonight, but I don't need a microphone, but we're going to wait to check what's happened to the microphone. We can hear you too, Paul. But you were very nervous tonight, have to say. He said more about Christine. Now, what I did say last night, he was more loving about you last night and said more stuff, but I think he was very nervous tonight because you were here. And when he said that everything was laid out for him, I would lay him out. And I did say a couple of things, and I did have a couple of laughs last night, but it just reminded me of a wee story on the way home. I was telling some of the council workers on the way home, in them days, a woman can do whatever she wants. If she wants to lay out his clothes, and he wears boxers, by the way, just in case anybody wants to know. Because Christine says to me there now, I lay out his very boxers. And I said, but I wasn't wondering if they were Y fronts or boxers, but now we know they're boxers. But my late father was a diesel engineer in Stewartstown, and my brother was taking over the business, and they were going to London to stay, and I worked in London. They were going to do a weekend workshop for this diesel, whatever it was. And my mum wrote me a letter the week before they came over. And the letter said, Carl, your daddy's coming over for 5 days. Monday night he takes mince, big peas and potatoes. Tuesday night he takes shepherd's pie and peas, bigger peas again. Wednesday night, 2 pork chops. Friday night, Irish stew. Or no, Thursday night, Irish stew. Friday night, a well done fish out of the chip shop and a few chips. And I thought, well, that's okay, that's workable. The bottom was, P.S. your daddy takes cornflakes every morning. Do me a favour, steep them 20 minutes before you get up. I said, he'll be wearing the cornflakes, Mummy. So wait, Christine, I understand exactly what you're doing for him. I don't know if I'd hang my husband's clothes out at night or whatever, but anyway, the lectern tonight is not as wide as it was in Coy House, and I like it good and wide that nobody can see you. So I'm going to have to hold everything in until I really talking. But tonight you're in for a treat. We had a fantastic night on Tuesday night in Coy House, and it wasn't our home turf, so it was mostly strangers. So tonight, I don't know if we're more nervous because we know half the people here tonight, and you'll probably, she's put on weight or a roots need doing or whatever. Maybe you'll talk about us on the way home, but we have to be very calm about the whole thing and enjoy it. Tonight is about enjoying what we're doing and having a really good night and keeping up standards that we had on Tuesday night. You're in for a real treat tonight. As we said, Anne-Marie Campbell is Deputy Chief Executive, and I didn't know that until last week, and I think it's fantastic to have a woman there, and I can feel it in my bones that one day she's going to be our Chief Executive. Imagine a woman is going to be Chief Executive. No, I know Anne-Marie, there's no two ways about it, you will be, and it'll be brilliant for us all, honestly. Very approachable woman and a great head on her, and she'll run the town better than any man ever run the town. And we have Caroline Digg Mama here as well, and we have Nuala McMenamin to tell us what to wear, how to wear it, and how to what. I was thinking, did I say right name, Nuala, there, because I think we are a wee bit nervous today. But anyway, without much further ado, think of my daddy and his cornflakes, steep them before he gets up 20 minutes, and he won't have to crunch them. And I'm going to introduce you now to Caroline. This is going to be a really good story. I'm sure if you've heard our podcast, but she'll tell you all what she does, and we'll all maybe listen on the road home tonight. So listen, big hand, please, for Caroline.
Thank you so much, Carol. I actually am so nervous tonight. I think it's just because of COVID, and I used to do this a lot before all of that happened, and now we're back at it. I do sometimes, feel a bit nervous, so bear with me tonight. But thank you to the Mid-Ulster Council for asking me to be here. And when I was driving over the road, I was thinking, and I said it to Pauline as well in emails, like, what do you want me to talk about? And she said, look, just tell your story. So there's people in the room that maybe have heard it before, and I apologise if you're hearing this again, but I suppose everybody has a story and everybody has something to learn from everyone's, and I've learned that a lot recently. So where do I start? I trained as an occupational therapist, which a lot of people don't know, and I worked for 2 years in Craigavon Hospital. And something that I should have started off by saying who I am for people who don't know. So I'm Caroline, say I am nervous, Carol. Caroline O'Neill, and I am wife to Jared, and I do some of what I do, laying out clothes and all of that. I think most of us do. And I am mummy to Pierce, Dara and Tess. And yes, so I have a lot of things going on with being a wife and a mummy, but also in the world of work. And as I said, I trained to be an OT, and I'm very grateful for my time there. I learnt a lot, that I suppose I still use the skills from occupational therapy and a lot of the things that I do now. I don't often, talk about how I chose my career, but probably didn't do it in the best way. I should have been doing proper careers work, but was doing my homework in the careers class for the next thing, and just chose OT out of the prospectus. But it didn't do me any harm. It was a very caring profession and I loved it, but the entrepreneurial bug, I suppose, was always there, and I didn't really realise. I worked in retail when I was training to be an OT, and I got the bug for business and all things retail. And I remember telling my mum and dad that I was going to open a shop in Dungannon, and my mummy was in bits, crying. She was so proud of her occupational therapist daughter. She was like, please don't leave your good job. And I was 24 at the time when I decided to do that. Actually, can't believe I did it. But my dad was a great encourager of, following your dreams, and he supported me both with wise words and also financially, because I didn't have any money. So that's where the whole word Digg comes from, drives the digger. And he supported me to open Digg, which was menswear in Dungannon at the time. And I called it that just as a wee tribute to him. And now there's a lot of Digg things going on. The brand has grown for sure. The shop opened, and you know, there were a lot of challenges in Dungannon. I had my shop for 12 years, and oh my goodness, like, we had a public realm scheme in Dungannon, and you know, there was so much happened in that time that I had to adapt and grow, and really didn't know a lot about business. And I suppose I trained myself, and I would always be a great advocate to everyone that we can all learn to do this. If we actually vocally say we don't know how, there's a lot of people come to the fore and say, I will show you, I will teach you, and that's definitely something I still do today, is hold my hand up and say, I haven't a notion what you're talking about, could you please explain? And you know, there's a lot of people afraid to do that, and I don't think we should be. We should all be very open about what we don't know, because not everyone knows everything, and that's for sure. Yes, I launched my online store in Digg, and things went from good to bad. Didn't know what I was doing, didn't know why it didn't work, invested all my money, and yeah, kind of hit rock bottom at that stage. And again, I opened my mouth and said, I don't know how to do this. And I started to train myself in all things digital. Didn't have the money to pay anybody to do it for me. So trained myself on how to launch my online store. Things were going really, really well. The business was growing. I had 6 staff and 8 changing rooms and busy life and 3 kids at this stage. And then COVID hit. And you know, it's very emotional what happened, and I'm not going to get into it tonight because I would need to be here for 3 hours. But as Carol said, I do have a podcast, and I recorded the whole story about what happened when COVID hit, and you know, you're more than welcome. It's there for everyone to listen to. I don't shy away from what I went through or what happened in the shop closing. But I closed my shop after 12 years, and it was big decisions to make and not a nice situation to be in, and one which I never imagined, because I had imagined, and I said it to Fiona at the top of the stairs, that I would have been there till retirement and longer in Dungannon for sure, only for COVID. But looking back now, it was probably the best thing that happened to me because of all the different things I've been able to do since the shop closed. I have no idea now what I'm sitting speaking for, Carol, but I know you'll keep me. Oh, you're going to cough. Good. So yes, it was an emotional time, and I know everybody in this room went through a lot at COVID, and that's what I mean by everyone has a story, and I shared it very openly on social media, and I guess the support that I got me through, as well as support from family. But I decided to change all my social handles to Digg Mama. Didn't want to lose the Digg because it means so much to me. I'd worked so hard, and what happened after that was absolutely unbelievable. I started to share family content during lockdown, and then my wee boy was very busy one day. I don't know if anybody knows the video, and it went viral all over the world. Like millions, I think there's 20 million views on his video at the moment. So that helped Digg Mama a lot. So with increased following on social, and I talk about this a lot in all the workshops that I do and all the training that I do for business, comes opportunity. And that's, I just thought, now is my time. I need to, you know, I was always so used to being so busy, and to be honest, I felt like, and I said this at an event a few weeks ago, a failure. Because my shop had closed, and no matter how many times someone told me it's not your fault, and you know, you worked so hard, I still felt like a failure. And there's times and days, and even driving home, we're here tonight, and like that waves of that come over you, and you have to have a good talk to yourself and say, you know, it wasn't failure, it was circumstance, and I've had to try to pivot, and I think we all go through times like that. So that would be a wee message that I would say tonight, when those feelings creep in, or imposter syndrome, like why would Ulster Council ask someone who has a failed business to speak to a load of women tonight? You have to say to yourself, no, it's part of my story, my life, my journey, and this is what I've done now because of that. So yes, I approach social media and all of that somewhat differently to others, because I'm coming from a business background as well as an advertisement. So when businesses come to me and want to work together, I want to know why. What's their goals? What do they want to do? You need to be doing this when I'm doing this for you. So yes, I do influencer work, but I'm also a business consultant for a lot of small businesses, because I have a passion for them, because I know what they're going through. I've also recently just launched a podcast a year ago now, and I love it. It's definitely a passion of mine, the Digg podcast, if anyone listens to podcasts. And it's an educational tool for businesses on how to grow, how to embrace opportunity, how to pivot, how to change, how to hold your hand up and say, I don't know how to do that. And that's definitely the ethos of the podcast, and it's brilliant. I love it. I'm also kept busy with Digg for Kids, which is a campaign I run every Christmas. A lot of people in this room tonight have supported that over the years, and at Christmas we just raised £172,000, and with the help of businesses, some of which are sitting here tonight, and influencers, we were able to buy almost £500,000 worth of product for Cash for Kids, Simon Community and St Vincent de Paul, and that's something I'm very proud, and that's what I try to say to myself when imposter syndrome creeps in. No, this is good. We've been able to do good things because I'm a lot freer than I used to be. I'm also the co-founder of the Northern Ireland Social Media Award, so you can tell I love social media, and it's about celebrating businesses and the things that we're all doing in business and in life. As I close here tonight, I'd like to say that I may be standing up here this evening talking to you all about my story, but it's no more significant than any one of yours. We're all on a journey and we all go through highs and lows. I would say March and April 2020 was the most uncertain, frightening time of my whole life. Felt like a failure, as I said, like I let my family down, as I was turning my back on something which I'd worked so hard for. Those are just my thoughts. I know people are probably thinking, no, it wasn't like that, but that's what I was thinking. But believe me, time's a great healer, and as well as being open and honest, that has definitely helped me get through. And I truly believe that it was my willingness to speak out loud about what I was going through that helped me break through those emotions. And I still have days, like driving over here, that those emotions of failure and what ifs enter my mind, but I've learned how to combat those with positive thoughts and honest conversations with other business owners and other people especially. So as I leave here, the stage or the stand tonight, I want to wish you all the luck in the world in your journey of life and work, and mummies and wives and partners and everything that we all do. It's not always easy, but I believe if you surround yourself with the right people, things will always work out for the best. So thank you so much.
That was just fantastic, Caroline. Thank you so much. And I know that's really a wee tiny part of your story. My goddaughter used to work, she's an architect, but when she was doing her last part of the job, she worked with Caroline, and she said it was absolutely fantastic. She learned an awful lot and would probably still be working in your shop about being an architect. She loved the crack that much. She said it was very, very good. She loved you. A couple of things about asking, I don't know. I think that's amazing that you're able to do that there and ask people. Open and honest. Brilliant as well. And this is something come up with you. I phoned somebody this morning, Paul, as our chair, and I said, I actually like Paul McLean. I said that. That's what I said last. I didn't mean it, but I said it last night. I was a member of the council actually, and he said, I actually like him too. He's very open and honest. So there you go. So Caroline, that was absolutely fantastic. And you know, you're right about working from your shop and working for, on a wee journey. A lot of people now are springing up gurus every Friday off a conveyor belt. And a new guru, I like you because I hear people up here that has been maybe working in a vegetable shop last Friday, and now they're up counselling me. But I like you because I trust you, and I think that you are very, very honest here, and I think we should follow Caroline because you have the real honest story. So there you go. Oh, absolutely fantastic. So 12 years of Caroline, and things are meant to happen. I think you're right. You're in the perfect place now at the perfect time. So we're up for a treat next because this is her look, she's grin on her face. Did you see that? I saw it. Anne-Marie Campbell, our Deputy Chief Executive and Director of Environmental Mid-Ulster District Council, the Paramount of the I never read this out last night, but we read the night. Forget about it, will I? She's going to tell you all the story about these powerful women in history, and honestly it's a lovely, so just sit back and listen and enjoy it. Anne-Marie Campbell, folks, thank you.
Carl really has scared me because she didn't say that the other night. But thank you all for coming here tonight. As Carl says, I'm Anne-Marie Campbell, Deputy Chief Executive of Mid-Ulster Council, and it's my pleasure to be here this evening in my hometown, because I live in Magherafelt, so I know a lot of people in the room, I know their faces, so it's delighted for me to be able to speak to you. And tonight what I'm going to do is take you on a journey of history over the last 100 years. Now, don't be worried, I'm not going to give you dates and statistics, so maybe if you're historians, but hopefully there's a little bit of interesting stories that you'll pick up something from. But I think it's really important that we have evenings like this evening's, because women are always very, very busy. But gender inequality still exists. There still is glass ceilings. Now, that's not to say you can go through a glass ceiling, because I've gone through the glass ceiling, but it takes a lot of resilience, determination and hard work. And that's why I'm delighted to be here, and I'm delighted that Paul has promoted this, because we need to shine a light on the achievement of women in the hope that, and if it affects even one person in this room tonight, it'll be a success, because it will hopefully give you all inspiration, motivation, and hopefully unlock everybody, every woman in this room to reach their full potential and seek out opportunity, diversity and equality in your lives. But I want you to try and imagine what it was like 100 years ago if somebody born, and I want you to imagine, some people in this room will know my granny, she was born 100 years ago in Balahi. So imagine what it was like for her as a woman, born into a very hard life. There's no inside toilets, and they definitely didn't have any career aspirations. And once a girl left school at a fairly early age, she typically went to the fields or the factories, and she was very lucky she found a husband. But at that time, when they got married, they became a housewife, and basically their job was to support their husband and really look after the family. So aspirations and career expectations were non-existent. But fast forward 2 generations, I too was born in Balahi, but under very considerable different circumstances, and I'm standing as Deputy Chief Executive. And that's something that my grandmother could never have aspired to, a woman like her could never have aspired to. But it was those women, she was a very strong woman, it was those women who, through their hard work and resilience, paved the way for my generation and generations to come. And as I said, it's my delight to be here to take you through a little bit of the history of women over the last 100 years. Now, it's only a little snippet, so but hopefully you'll find it interesting. I'm going to, I've lost the slides. Yeah, there we go. Right. I was going to start off with a quote from Peace Mitchell. Women hold the world's greatest untapped potential and are the key to unlocking all the women's problems. That's why I believe investing in women is the most powerful way to change the world. And I do firmly believe that women hold the key to unlocking the world's problems. And that's evidenced in the last 100 years or more. Even though much progress has been made, there's still gender pay inequality. Female leaders are still lacking. Women and girls still have violence against them. And women still fall behind men in terms of education and healthcare. In fact, data released by the UN Women says that COVID, the pandemic, has put women's equality back 25 years. And that's because women are still doing more domestic chores and family care. That's unbelievable, like 25 years gone back. So it's really important that we come together to recognise these inequalities and celebrate the role of women who've overcome barriers. And I suppose in recognition of that achievement, it's really important to remember the situation faced by a lot of women in as we speak, who are making the heartbreaking decision to leave Ukraine with their families and seek refuge in their European neighbours, and we'll keep those women in our thoughts this evening. Celebrating the achievements of women is not something new, and this has been a key feature of society going back as far as the 1900s and beyond. It was in the early 1900s that International Women's Day was first established, and it's celebrated all over the globe now on the 8th of March every year. The 1920s was a great time of greater freedom and liberation for women, and it's a really important decade for the suffrage movement, as it was in the early 20s that women gained equal voting rights to men, and a cause that has been pursued by many brave women since the 1800s. And this is the first year that my daughter will be able to vote. And she's sort of saying to me, why should I vote? And I'm going, well, people died, women died to give you the vote, so you need to vote. I don't care who you vote for, but you have to go and vote. So it's really, really important that we as women exercise that right. The 1930s were fraught with hard times for all people, especially women, who sought out ways to try and support their families, and women took on new jobs and responsibilities to provide for themselves and families. Fast forward to the 40s, and basically there's arrival of another war, and again we see the resilience of women as they took on different jobs that they thought they never could do, really important national jobs to support the war effort. And women worked so hard to deliver those important roles, but they're still expected to manage the family and the house and look after everybody there. And that responsibility towards family is still part of our society here in Northern Ireland. It's something that still has carried through. The Northern Ireland peace process has celebrated its inclusion for women, in particular the Women's Coalition Party. As an all-women party set up, had a real key role as part of the peace talks. And the group championed the adoption of a clause in the Good Friday Agreement in 1998 supporting the inclusion of women in politics and public life. It is imperative that gender equality is prioritised in a post-conflict situation, and that women are not left in the margins when discussing difficult, contentious issues. Throughout the past century, much has been achieved, but also many stories that are all too often forgotten about and nobody heard about, and there's remarkable achievements that just don't get the attention that they deserve. One great achievement that received global recognition was of course the 1932 Atlantic flight taken by Amelia Earhart. In 1932, Amelia Earhart set out on aviation records by flying solo across the Atlantic and became the first woman to receive the Distinguished Flying Cross. Her next ambition focused on becoming the first woman to fly around the world. And in 1937 she set off with a companion from Miami, landed in New Guinea, but from which she disappeared after departing, and nobody knows what happened to her on the flight or her companion. She just never arrived at her destination. Earhart's legacy lives on, and she's generally regarded as a feminist icon. Her story is one that's known around the globe, but we have her own much earlier remarkable story of achievement that's basically flew under the radar, so to speak. In 1910, an extraordinary lady called Lillian Bland etched a niche in history. Although born in Kent, she moved back to Belfast, her father's hometown, when she was in her 20s, and she's believed to be the first woman to design, build and fly her own aircraft, a feat accomplished over Shane's Castle. And she named the aeroplane the Mayfly, and you may wonder why did she name it a Mayfly? Because she stated it may fly, it may not. Not only was she a true innovator, but she also became a successful sports journalist, photographer, and at one time gained her jockey's licence in order to take part in the Grand National. But she wasn't allowed to race, and the reason she wasn't allowed to race was because she was a woman. And she's featured in an exhibition at the Ulster Folk and Transport Museum in Kiltrara, and is celebrated as one of Northern Ireland's true innovators who made a global impact with her work. Her simple statement of "it may fly, it may not" is surely a motto worth remembering, reminding us of the importance of trying to something new. And there's also there's other affirmations you could use, the likes of "feel the fear and do it anyway," but I think Lillian's simple, straightforward remark is a rallying call for effort, resilience and innovation to women across our region. It's easy to see how we could be inspired by women like Amelia and Lillian. Role models like these inspire women to be more ambitious and to fly higher. The role models are essential you need them to support further achievement of women as they demonstrate the mindsets and behaviours needed to rise and achieve. And sport is one of the most obvious arenas where role models are plentiful. As always, we don't have to look too far from home for female sporting role models. In 1972, Dame Mary Peters was making headlines. In the Summer Olympics that year, Peters won the gold medal in the women's pentathlon. She also represented Northern Ireland at every Commonwealth Games between 1958 and 1974. And in those games, she won 2 gold medals for the pentathlon, plus a gold and silver medal for the shot put. Mary has been an inspiration to people throughout Northern Ireland, bringing people together in times of trouble. Through her sporting triumphs, Mary Peters is a true ambassador for sport, reaching the pinnacle of sporting effort, achieving the ultimate as an Olympic gold medal. In more recent times, we have to look to the achievements of another gold medal winner, demonstrating that there's no limits to what you can achieve. Kelly Gallagher was the first British gold medal winning Paralympian and the first athlete from Northern Ireland to compete in the Winter Paralympic Games, winning a gold medal at the Sochi 2014 Games. And this alpine skier inspired women and girls across the globe to reach their dreams. Celebration comes in many forms, and Kelly was appointed MBE in 2014 for services to sport for people with visual impairment. And one of Kelly's great supporters and coaches at this time was Kelly Fay, a sports psychologist from English, County Tyrone, so you never have to go too far to get a Mid-Ulster connection. Role models are exceptional people whose lives can inspire others to achieve good things. Women like Lillian Brand, Dame Mary Peters and Kelly Gallagher are role models, women whose journeys teach us endurance, resilience, persistence, leadership, compassion, freedom and discipline. Sometimes to ensure that we are empowering and supporting other women, we need to lend a voice to those who aren't able to make theirs heard, or when it seems that nobody is listening. Women throughout the past century have demonstrated just how powerful this can be, and something that can start quietly and locally can have a global impact. Rosa Parks, now she was some lady, she needs no introduction, but basically she provided the voice of many in the fight for equal and civil rights. This international civil rights icon helped initiate the civil rights movement in the United States when she refused to give up her seat to a white man on a Montgomery, Alabama bus in 1955. And over the next half-century, Parks became a nationally recognised symbol of dignity and strength in the struggle to end entrenched racial segregation. Like all women you're hearing about this evening, Rosa was a woman just like the rest of us, and there are countless female leaders amongst us in our communities who are quietly making a difference in society, and they deserve celebration and recognition so that others can be inspired to make a difference in this world too. A self-confessed introvert, Claire O'Hanlon, MBE, is a Mid-Ulster native, an advocate for change and a leader in her own right. Following the diagnosis of her son with Duchenne muscular dystrophy in 2012, Claire has led the campaign to improve care for people living with muscle wasting conditions in Northern Ireland. Not only has Claire brought together a community of fundraisers who funded over 20,000 hours of research and inspired other families to do the same, Claire has also lobbied government in Northern Ireland, in the UK and US Food and Drug Administration. She's become a spokesperson for families living with muscle wasting conditions in Northern Ireland and is chair of the Northern Ireland Nationwide or Council for Nationwide Charity MD UK. Claire is a link between health professionals, decision makers and families. The work saw her honoured with an MBE in 2019. Building on her own experiences in creating change as a quiet leader, Claire has created a number of programmes teaching other women to do the same. Claire is just one of the many tireless, quiet female leaders here in Mid-Ulster who are working extremely hard to make a difference in the world and helping other women to achieve their full potential. Despite 100 years of achievements in gender equality, there is still an underrepresentation of women in many areas of our lives, and it would be remiss of me not to talk about that. We should be heartened, however, so that there are so many women and organisations across Mid-Ulster working to overcome this. It's just as important that we celebrate the great work that these organisations do on behalf of women, overcoming the challenges faced by us everywhere. It's impossible for me to acknowledge every organisation, but this event celebrates important work that they do collectively. As a society and women, we have a responsibility to dismantle the stereotypes that hold women back. We need to consider how we talk about topics such as caring responsibilities and who should perform these roles. We need to examine whether we are encouraging young girls to consider all their career and study options, including those in STEM. And my daughter, this was a couple of years ago, chose digital technology as one of her GCSE subjects. She ended up as the only girl in a class of 20 boys, and yet technology and ICT is one of the growth sectors within Northern Ireland for jobs. And you have to ask yourself, why was she the only girl? Like that was 3-4 years ago. So it's really important that we work and give the girls knowledge and the choices which will help them in the future. But we can't forget about the boys. They also have a role in this whole thing. And we have to encourage them and include them in, inhibited, outdated views of what is expected of them. We have to break those as well. Nurturing female talent and female leaders in Mid-Ulster is essential, and organisations such as the Mid-Ulster Enterprise Agencies and other networks are striving to achieve this. Dungannon Enterprise Centre are leading the way in developing new resources, working with organisations across Europe, and its SHINE project aims to strengthen female community leaders, offering solutions to overcoming barriers and tools for organisations to celebrate and develop female leaders in the community and voluntary sector, where we're so dependent on women leading the way. Also breaking the barriers for women are the women's centres in Dungannon, Cookstown and Magherafelt. An example of this can be found in the First Steps Women's Centre in Dungannon, who have looked at the many reasons why women in our rural communities aren't able to access development opportunities, including education. They have taken the challenges of childcare provision and transport and provided solutions for women through its childcare service, and have their own minibus. And this is just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to the work of women's groups and networks in Mid-Ulster, who are ensuring women have equal access to support without some of the traditional barriers that are still very much a challenge to women in Northern Ireland. The empowerment and development of women is something that's central to the work of Mid-Ulster District Council, and as a public body we aim to contribute to society in Mid-Ulster and ensure that women are empowered and have equal access to opportunities. Economic development is a key objective for the Council, and we're thrilled at the level of female entrepreneurs who are accessing our new business development programmes, such as the Gearing for Growth, which supports the growth of SMEs. Initiatives like this have enabled us to support new and emerging talent like Christina and Lauren Kelly, a mother and daughter team from Mid-Ulster. And the duo are making a name for themselves in innovation, and with our support we're able to gain recognition as silver level innovators through Innovate NI, and they're accessing funding to accelerate development of their fabulous range of locally manufactured natural aromatherapy products, Purus. They're just one example of the sheer talent, creativity and tenacity of women in Mid-Ulster. When we reflect on what life would have been like for women like my grandmother in rural Mid-Ulster 100 years ago, we can appreciate the changes that have occurred over the century. More change is certainly needed, but in celebrating how far we've come, we're also reminded that more change is possible. Representation matters, especially when studies show that gender equity is still far from being reached. By coming out and supporting events like this one, we celebrate and cheer on women who are achieving amazing successes, often against all the odds. And I truly believe that women can do unbelievable things with the support of other women. Our first example of achievement tonight was Amelia Earhart's. So almost 100 years after her famous flight across the Atlantic, it seems fitting that I finish with one of my favourite quotes of hers. Some of us have great runways already built for us. If you have one, take off. But if you don't have one, realise it is your responsibility to grab a shovel and build one for yourself and for those who will follow after you. Thank you.
Anyway, that was so interesting. I loved that on Tuesday night. I could listen to that again. I think that's totally amazing. I love Lillian Bland. She built a three-wheeler bicycle with a gazebo over the top of it and flew across the country. I just thought she was absolutely fantastic, and it may fly and it may not fly. Brilliant. Rosa Parks. I seen her, she had a handbag on her knee with 4 studs in it. I'd have given it to them up the bake. I looked, that's a good heavy handbag, Rosie. She should have hit him a smack on the head with it, and I'm glad she didn't give up her seat. I forgot to mention earlier on what your ticket money for. I know Paul mentioned too. This is for our ambulance tonight. And I know there was one in Cookstown today. and we all said our prayers that we didn't know anybody that it was going to, and we hope that nobody belonging to you ever needs an air ambulance, but we do need one. It's a great service to have. So again, thank you so much for, you know, buying your ticket tonight. But I have a wee tiny story before I call the next speaker. I went to school with this girl. She married a consultant in the Royal Victoria Hospital. She became very popular. She was a wee village beside us, and she spoke rough as a bear's ass like me. But then all of a sudden she's on speaking like a consultant now at Royal Victoria Hospital. So she wandered into the hub not so very long ago, maybe last Wednesday or Thursday, and she said, "Hello, Carl. How are you? I see you're doing something in for the Minister Council." And she opened her purse. I said, no, Heather, you have to put that, I'll tell her name now. We could be a Heather from a wee village round in here tonight. So anyway, Heather, I said, you have to go online and book your tickets. And I said, they're £10 each. That's lovely. And she took out the money. She took out £80. And I said, what's that for? She says, I want you to buy 4 tickets for 4 ladies who need a little lift. And also give them, I said, that's only £40, but give them £10 to get a blow dry. So I thought that was, and after me duking her, I said, oh Jesus, look who's coming in there, I didn't want to see her. But anyway, I was very good. What I did do was, I chose 4 people who I knew would like need a wee lift. And I gave them tickets. I'm not going to say if they're here tonight or not. But I didn't give them the tenner for their hair. Because I thought, they don't need their hair done, their hairs is all lovely, their roots was fine, their wee uplifts and all looked well. So I said, I've £40 in an envelope there I'm going to give to her ambulance as well as the £40 that she gave. So, do you know what? I'll never do Heather again from a wee village. I see her coming again, I'll give my hand out, because £80 from a woman that I haven't seen in years, because of our video that we put up on our page about the air ambulance tonight, I thought that was very, very good. So, you know, God bless anybody who's here with your hair done tonight. That was really lovely, Heather. And do not be asking me who the hell it was. I won't be telling you. Who was she? I'm not telling you. So now we have Nuala. We're all excited, Nuala, because you're going to make us look lovely and feel special and all the rest, because you're very lovely tonight as well. Please give it up, please, for Nuala McMenamin tonight. Thank you.
Hello, as Carol said, I am Nuala McMenamin, and I worked in a vegetable shop last Friday, and I'm here to coach you tonight. No, that's a joke. So, my business is Adorn, Bespoke styling, and I started it in January 2020, just before the pandemic hit. And I've always loved fashion and clothes and food. And food and fashion don't tend to go together. And I thought it was a barrier to me being a personal stylist, because most of the personal stylists that I would think of tend to be slimmer women. And I thought you had to have a slimmer body type to give style advice. And then I worked with a business coach, and she spoke to me and she said, Nuala, there is such a huge need for a relatable woman that women can work with, that understands what it is to have, you know, a normal body type, you know, in inverted commas, because there's no such thing as women. I actually don't subscribe to body shape analysis or anything like that, because I think body shape analysis is another box for women to shoehorn themselves into, and I think as women we have enough boxes to be shoehorned into, and we are so individual. There's no such thing as 8 body types that, you know, work for all of us. You walk down the street and every woman that you walk past has a different body shape. So I am all about really liberating my clients and getting them to tap into how their clothes make them feel, and dressing in a way that makes them feel better. So I'll just rewind back again to my background. Was in graphic design and marketing. Again, I thought that was another barrier. Whenever Davina reached out to me tonight to speak, she asked me to speak about breaking the bias. And I sat and thought about just how many biases I placed upon myself, and I just think as women we continually place biases upon ourselves, and I didn't think that I could give convincing style advice because I didn't come up through a fashion route or a retail route. So I was a graphic designer, and then I moved into marketing, and when I thought about it, graphic design is all about colour balance, layout, aesthetics, and marketing is all about creating a connection between given product or service and your audience, and I'm packaging all that together and I'm giving it to my clients. And then the career coach that I worked with made me realise that. And I realised that I did have an offering and I had a USP in terms of working with relatable women. And I think there's far more women out there that enjoy fashion and enjoy clothes and enjoy a bite to eat as well. So that was my mission, was to help women feel better about themselves. So yeah, I started my business in January 2020 and it was ridiculous because a couple of months later we had the pandemic. And it was like, what do women need to do with personal style right now? I mean, am I going to tell them 101 ways to wear a germ mask? You know, top 10 tips for pyjama chic. It was just ridiculous. I was just like, I don't have a business anymore. What am I going to do? So I started doing Zoom styling parties, and it was really good crack actually. And a lot of people, I think, were glad of the light relief. So I had a mannequin that I gave a manic looking face, and her name was Queenie. So I dressed her up in the styling parties, and she actually used to scare the hell out of me. I lived by myself, and I remember walking into rooms and she would be there, and I would just jump, and it was ridiculous. But honestly, it was just such a lifeline. So I met so many people through the styling parties, and then I got clients off the back of that, and I started doing workshops with businesses as well. On the importance of how necessary it is for you to get up and get dressed every morning for yourself, even in the pandemic when nobody's going to see you. And I also noticed that a lot of times women give away their power whenever it comes to dressing, in terms of what are they going to say if they see me wearing that. And it doesn't matter a damn what they say. It's like, you should only ever dress for you, but we're so used to just giving our power away. So it was really good to get the workshops as well on the importance of getting up every day and getting dressed for yourself. Now, it wasn't about wearing a power suit to get dressed for yourself. It was about being practical for every hat that women have to wear. Whenever they're working from home, they could be on the floor with their kids one moment, running out to the shops, and then onto like a VC for a conference. So it's kind of fashion and styling and clothes that just work for every facet of who you need to be and who you need to show up as. So I want to do a wee exercise with you, if you'll humour me. So I would like you to close your eyes if you're comfortable doing so, or just lower your gaze to the ground. And I want you to take a deep breath in for 4. Hold for 4. Exhale for 4. Another deep breath in. Hold for 4. And exhale for 4. I want you to imagine you're in a room or an environment where you're feeling really, really amazing in something that you're wearing. I want you to take in the atmosphere in the room. I want you to really think about how you feel. I want you to look down at your body. What have you got in your feet? As you move up your body, what have you got in your legs? How does the fabric feel against your skin? How does it make you feel to be wearing something amazing? Are you sitting with your back straighter? Is your chin higher? Do you feel expansive? Do you feel unstoppable? Is it a work environment? Are you socialising with friends? Are you at a wedding? Just soak in how that feels in that moment. Remember how it felt to be you in those clothes at that time. So we'll take a deep breath in. Hold for 4. And out for 4. One more in. Hold for 4. Out for 4. And open your eyes when you're ready. I really like to do that exercise. I do it in the workshops that I run. And I think it gives people, if you're visually minded, pause for thought. If you're not visually minded, you just have a nice break. But it gives you pause for thought, and most people can recall a time when they felt really amazing in their clothes. And for a lot of people, that feeling hasn't been so accessible to them as recently as they would have liked. And my point is that that feeling is accessible to you every single day and every single time you get dressed. Whenever I work with clients, my mission is for them to be more excited about opening their wardrobes than they are about opening a box of chocolates. And I just think that we can place biases on ourselves in terms of what we can wear. We keep clothes for good, we keep things for down the line, and we don't invest enough in ourselves every day. And our clothes really, really enables us to do that. So that's just my point, is, you know, just dress for you and feel into what gives you joy and what makes you feel amazing. So thank you so much, and thank you so much to Mid Ulster District Council for having me tonight.
Nuala, that was fantastic. Thank you very much. I hope everybody takes that in mind. Now, whenever you're all had your eyes closed, I run out and take off my Spanx. You can hear the skate of that elastic. But we all have been to a wedding and a pair of Spanx on us, and we needed the nebulizer that night. And we took them off. So well done, and it's an interesting wee talk too, and that's a nice wee meditation there to visualise yourself wearing something. It's true, you know. Nobody's business what you wear. If you feel happy in it, get out and wear it and enjoy it. I'm going to call, I think we're near the food time now, so I'm going to call on the lovely, I wonder what he was thinking he was wearing when he was age closed, or what he wasn't wearing maybe. Paul's going to say a wee thank you.
You have to be prepared for anything. You need a good hard skin no matter what your clothes. Well, listen, all I want to say is, over the 2 nights, a big thank you to all our speakers. I believe that they have been very inspirational, and I can say that even as a man. I think there's a lot of things that everybody can take away from what they said. I've said this in a number of events that I've attended. There's nothing in the world to beat personal contentment, to be happy. No matter what else in life, to be content with yourself. And so we live in a very commercialised world where peer pressure and everything else presses upon us. And especially, and I have to say this, and I've reared 4 daughters, or my wife has reared 4 daughters, should I say, and I helped her. But I felt sorry for them on many occasions. We can stick on a pair of trousers and a shirt. It doesn't matter. Sure, we're all shapes, and I was thinking about that and over there, pulling my stomach a bit. But anyway, but young women especially get it very tough and very, very difficult, and they're always having to aspire or always having to achieve. And I think we as older people need to help them along that journey. And I think we have heard a lot over these past nights that we can do that. I'd like to thank also Carl for doing a fantastic job on both nights in comparing the process and helping to organise it. But I also want to pay tribute to all the people behind the scenes. And I have said this again on many occasions, it's easy for me to be chair and it's easy for councillors to come out and do their job because of the staff and the people that do all the spade work behind the scenes. And we have a fantastic team in Mid Ulster. We punch well above our weight on so many fronts. There's plenty to criticise about, but there's so many things that we punch well above our weight. And I want you to put your hands together for the staff and the speakers and our compere tonight who've done a fantastic job.
Just before I finish, I just have only a minute to say, somebody found a key tonight. If anybody... Yeah. Oh, room number what? Anyway, just a wee thing before I go. I was honoured to be asked to compare the 2 nights. They have been absolutely phenomenally brilliant. All the speakers were fantastic. The audiences are brilliant as well. But I just like to say, and I said this on Tuesday night as well, I want you to remember something: you're born and you die. See the bit in between? It's vitally important that you live that for you to the best of your ability. We have a life, I want you to live it. I went to a workshop in Derry, stroke Londonderry, stroke Maiden City, whatever you want to call it, me and my best friend. And the lady gave us like a paper plate. She said, on average, ladies or women live till they're 80 years old. So she had 8 slices cut out in this paper plate, and she said, there's a pencil, I want you to shade in each slice for 10 years of your life. Well, I was 60 then, so I started to shade it in, and Jesus, and I had 2 slices left. My friend started to cry, for she was the same age as me, so I had 2 slices left. It's torn. And I looked up at the woman and said, now take another slice and fill in a third for technology and a third for sleep. I was left with a bucket slice and a third. Now that was 4 years ago. So what am I going to do? What are you going to do with the slice that you've left, or the slices that you've left in your life? You know, we could look at the slices that we filled in, the bad we went through and the good we went through. What do you want to do with your last slice? Just on the way home tonight, fill it in your head, that slice of the tart, and we'll see what you have left, and what are you going to do with the rest of that slice? I know I'm going to go out with a bang. I'm definitely going to go out with a bang. Listen, thank you so much. You're a brilliant audience. Thank you very much.